I'm sorry, Descartes.
All right,
Go ahead.
my name's Gus. I'm gonna go over like Plato's beliefs. All right, so his first one is how his views on government and society. And then the quote from here was, "Democracy makes democratic laws, tyranny makes tyrannical laws, and so on with the others. And they declare what they have, made, what is to their own advantage, to be just for their subjects, and they punish anyone who goes against this as lawless and unjust. This, then, is what I say unjust is, the same in all cities, the advantage of the established rule." So basically what he's saying here is that everything is a matter of perspective and relative, because one type of government has a certain set of rules and the other one can completely oppose them. The first type of government is aristocracy. So the way this one works is well-educated is the ruling class, so that's the ones that are on top, and they're ruled by wisdom. They believe in wisdom. And then it's followed by soldiers and the guardians, which they're in pursuit of honor and to be just. And the bottom class is the majority class, which is just the base desires. And Plato believed that this type of government worked really well because wisdom was on the top, so that was what ruled the rest of the classes. And he said the appetite, the logic, and the spirit from every class worked in harmony with each other. And the way you get to the top is with prudence and experience. So you have to be patient. And the next one is democracy.
Okay, real quickly.
And then the next one was democracy, which is government replaces property replaces wisdom. And it's more simple-minded, so just straightforward. So in terms of that, the more property you have, the more estate you have, the more material possessions, the higher ranking you are in society. And now, as opposed to the previous one, the warriors are now more of how we view modern society now. So they go more towards education, medicine, and just having the basic things that we have now that we consider luxuries. And in this government, it's more high-spirited, and their primary instincts are good, but Plato says the emotions rule too much, which he says that emotions shouldn't drive any decision in government. The next one is oligarchy, which is the desire for wealth, and that's what rules above all. They're in this government, it's very materialistic and self-interested. They wanted money just for money, just to say that they have money. It's not as a means to buy land and buy other things. It's more of a statement factor.
Okay, very much like today. But this would be, then the question comes.
Okay, the next one is he believes that people in this type of government are very sly and hardworking, and they're superficially honest, which means that they're honest only when it benefits them. And the higher ups may seem superior, but they're really fragile. For example, if like they lost money or some type of estate, they would crumble. That's like their whole world. That's what they know. They forsake the majority. So if something's in their best interest, they'll do it as opposed to the best interest of the whole. And democracy holds all the individuals. So it holds all the types of governments. You can have the individuals from all types of governments in democracy. And in democracy, the aim is freedom even over virtue. So the lower class in this case is catered to, since it's the majority. And men act like boys, teachers fear the students, and the battle of the sexes begins here.
So why would teachers fear the students in a democracy?
Plato says the battle of the sexes begins in democracy because like we said, everybody is considered equal. So females and males can fight for the same thing. And tyranny is the desire for freedom with no discipline. And this is the worst and most unjust government. And this government mostly comes from, Plato believes it stems from democracy, a broken democratic system. And in this government, power is seized and it's used to maintain order. So here they use fear as a means to control the masses.
And that's what we're getting. When a democracy falls apart, we go to tyranny. And Trump is very tyranny-like, especially with his latest comment. Guys, just because a Muslim went crazy and ran over people in Manhattan,
The Philosopher King continued. Okay, this one is, the quote is, "We live at a time when there is a general distrust of people towards their governments, perhaps because governments who should do what is for the common good instead reveal their ugly sides. Instead of seeking to secure the good of the people, motivated by public service commitments, governments can be perceived as doing nothing but consolidating power for themselves, motivated by self-interest." And Plato says that this occurs when when it's a government ruled by somebody who is not a philosopher. He believes that philosophers need to be running a government. If not, it doesn't work. And he says the prerequisites to become a philosopher that would lead a society would be, first, above all else, you would have to love wisdom. And then, so the word philosophy actually means lover of wisdom. So he says you have to first love wisdom above all else. And he says to do this because philosophy deals with all aspects of life. As far as ruling in the government, you need it to be able to tell when someone is lying to you or to question their motives. The next one he says is you need physical education. And he says a healthy mind and a healthy body. He says you need to be physically educated, both to protect your citizens internally and externally. And what he means by that is, internally, if you have a healthy mind or a healthy body, it means that you strive to better yourself, which means you most likely strive to better your mind as well. And then you can fight laws and stuff that would harm the society. And externally, he means if action needs to be taken, you have the strength and the power to insert your will. And so this is what Plato probably looked like back then when he was young.
wow.
And then Philosopher King continued.
Pay attention, people, don't get distracted. Let's go. Talk to you later.
So mathematics, brute force, if unconstrained, is dangerous. So he says that physical education is important, but not as important as mathematics. There has to be a balance. And when he says be dogs, not wolves, he means because wolves, he considers society sheep, and wolves would prey on the sheep. So he doesn't want it to be like in a government that has tyranny, where they wouldn't look out for the best interest of the whole. And dogs are like the sheep herders, so that's the ones that would want the best for society. And mathematics also enhances your logic and your reasoning. And it's also, especially in the position of in the government, you would be good with financials and critical thinking. And he says this is very important because the big problem with government is we always fall into debt. And with mathematics, you would learn how to control your spending more. And the next one he says is music. He says justice is synonymous with harmonious order. So he believes everything can be structured like music, where everything flows and has harmony. You work together with everyone else. And the minimalist focus. Transcend through the shadows of uncertainty, go beyond the cave and into the light, where one would be able to determine what is for the common good. So this is just referring to the allegory of the cave, where you need to break free through knowledge and see what is real to be able to lead and not be a sheep. And so the conclusion from what he believes you need is to choose a leader through wisdom gained through Platonic education. So what he means by this is how we discussed Platonic education. You're always striving to better yourself and your knowledge. And if you choose a leader through wisdom, you won't fall into tyranny. Your government won't collapse. You're always going to have a society that is thriving. So Platonic, just he meant by knowledge, increase your knowledge, and you also get virtue of temperance, which means you know how to control yourself, which goes hand in hand with will and self-discipline. If you always striving and you don't indulge yourself, you're gonna know how to. You're not gonna let emotions rule you. You're gonna let your knowledge be your guide.